Welcome to another top 5 with Kris 05, guys. Enough time has passed since the latest patch came through, so now we can really see what the new best decks are after the patch, and even though the patch didn't look too big, it actually did make a decent impact. We're gonna go through 5 of the best decks for Easy Legend right now, talk about their mulligans, win rates, and general tips, but we're also gonna check out all of the other working archetypes for each individual class, so stick around to the end. Hope you enjoy the video, and if you do, you know what to do. And don't forget you can also check me out live each Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday on Twitch. Now, let's get into it.
You are not prepared!
Before we get into the best decks, I'd like to share some huge news for Raid. Raid is teaming up with Paramount to bring Leonardo, Donatello, Raphael, Michelangelo, April, and Shredder into the game as legendary champions. And honestly, they look awesome. I've been playing Raid for over 2 years now, and I gotta say I have been enjoying every second of it. Especially because cool nostalgic events like this. The design, they totally nailed it. All the characters look absolutely amazing, and I gotta say they've actually upped their game quite a lot on this one in the graphics department, which says a lot given how high the bar was already. Shredder also looks absolutely menacing, and this takes me way back to Saturday mornings as a kid, watching TV while inhaling cereal. From August 21st to November 13th, you will have the chance to collect all of these amazing legendary champions, and things kick off with Michelangelo. Just log in for 7 days, starting from August 21st, and you get to unlock him. He spreads debuffs, taunts enemies with trash talk, and dodges attacks. Classic Mickey energy. And you will even unlock his 5-star Perfect Soul after 2 weeks, which is absolutely insane. This means if you download the game from my download link, you will get your hands on 3 amazing legendaries as soon as you start, which is absolutely insane. You're gonna get yourself Michelangelo after 7 days. By using my download link, you get yourself the legendary Corrado, and you're also gonna have 24 hours to use one of the amazing promo codes to get yourself something like the Hanorok, which is a Void legendary champion, or Sun Wukong, which is amazing in PvP, or even the recent fusion Folin, which is amazing in PvE. The new fusion will be for Donatello, and he looks like the ultimate support with heals and cooldown reduction. You will also be able to unlock Leo, Raphael, April, and Shredder in special events, and there will be a new event dungeon with Shredder as the event boss, from where we will be able to farm the new Chronographer set. I really can't wait to see what this set's gonna be doing, but if it's anything close to pinpoint, I'm sold. Support the channel for free and download Raid from my personal download link if you still haven't, and collect all 6 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle champions, and you will unlock a special bonus reward, which should be better than pizza. Now, back to Hearthstone.
Alrighty then, so now we are starting off with Pain Demon Hunter, and this is indeed the best deck for Easy Legend right now from Diamond to Legend according to the stats, and they're actually overwhelming. This deck has about 60% win rate and thousands of games, so it definitely is a great pick because it's pretty fast, easy, and effective. Nothing too crazy has happened with this deck either, it's still pretty much the same straightforward, in-your-face kind of deck. You try to build nice and early boards so you can get some good chip damage in, and then you can finish off your opponent with a lot of burn damage from hand. You have good one-drops like Battle Fiend as well as Sock Puppet. Your Living Flames help you fish out your good fire spells, which are only the Hot Coals, which are still pretty nice. We even have things like King Mukla, which can be absolutely broken if tempoed out right, and Zephrys can also give you a bunch of burn damage. With Blood Mage Thanos, you could actually double up your damage from Hot Coals almost. It is gonna give you +2 extra damage, so that's a pretty good way to do it. And like I said, you do have tons of burn damage with things like Acupuncture, your weapons, your Chaos Strike, Infestation is pretty busted, Spirit of the Team also straight up goes face with the +2, Zephrys can give extra, the weapon, the Cliffside, Kain ignores taunts, and with Arana you could also cheat out a lot of extra damage too, especially if there's only a single enemy minion on the board. Or if there's no enemy minion on the board, Acupuncture straight goes to face. We even have Ziliax in here with the Haywire plus power module, and that can also go out of hand pretty quickly. When it comes down to the matchups, you really don't have any really bad ones, but, well, actually Leech Death Knight will be a really bad one, but that's about it. Quest Mage is also a little bit too random for your liking, but all around you should have a pretty good time against those. Everything else is pretty green, so obviously climbing should not be an issue. When going first and second for that matter, you're always gonna try to curve off with your good early game minions. So here's what you're looking for going first, and if you're curving into Ziliax or Mukla, both of them would be pretty sick. On the coin, the situation is pretty much the same, so mulligan accordingly. This is the deck I'm showing you, almost 3000 games, 60% win rate, but we also have other variations of this deck with decent sample size and win rate, and also things like Big Demon Hunter are super strong right now with Califero and Cliff Dive and such. And I did try this last stream, so expect a video about it soon. It was actually pretty strong. Space Demon Hunter is also still pretty much up there, but obviously Quest Demon Hunter is still pretty dog water. On the number 2 spot, Beast Hunter is still the best hunter, and you can check out my detailed video about this deck from not too long ago. Nothing has really changed about it, and it still is pretty strong as long as you're not facing too many classes with a lot of AoE. The gist of this deck is you try to go wide so you can actually pull off a really big nice RC Rampage, or even if you didn't get an RC Rampage and you're still decently wide on the board with a bunch of beasts, things like Supreme Dynamancy and City Chief Esho can really take the win by storm. You could also have a decent chunk of hand damage with things like Patchwork Pals if you buff them nice and well with the buffs, but that's not exactly the main game plan of this deck. Things like Location also help you build a easier, wider RC Rampage, and they're also a nice little bit of extra chip damage. The Painted Canvasaur can give you a lot of extra nice buffs on minions that are already on the board, and on the other hand, Dreambound Raptor can help you while putting minions on the board to get some other bonus effects, so that could be pretty cool. The Shepherd's Crook also helps you go wider with the RC Rampage with ease, and so on and so forth. Definitely check out the guide. The matchups are quite loaded, and we can see again Leech Death Knight would not be your friend, Pain Demon Hunter a little bit on the negative. Everything else looks pretty strong, however, even though I'm pretty sure other Death Knights are also not gonna be too great for you. When you're going first, again try to be curving off with the good cheap stuff. The remote control is also pretty awesome. Fetch is also pretty playable. I wouldn't straight up hold on to it though, it's much better to actually drop something on turn 1. And if you're curving into RC Rampage, that also ain't no joke. Workhorse is also pretty good on curve, and if you already have a 1-drop Jungle Gem for a turn 2 might also not be that bad. Shepherd's Crook might also make some sense. On the coin again we have a similar situation. Here Dreambound Raptor is a little bit less effective if you ask me, but it's still something to do I guess. Again, if you're curving into Workhorse or RC Rampage, those would be lit. For other good Hunter decks, this is the one I'm showing you, very busted, but we can see Buff Hunter definitely got slapped. The Tiki Discover Hunter I showed recently also is still looking very promising, but it's a pretty awkward deck to be picking up. Watch the video and see for yourself what it can actually pull off. It was actually not as hard as it looked. And it is actually a pretty broken deck in Top Legend too. On the number 3 spot, Aggro Pally is still taking the meta by storm, and people are still expecting it to be Quest Pally, and it turns out to be Aggro Pally. To be fair, they're not exactly very different, but this one does curve out a little bit faster given it doesn't actually need to basically skip turn 1 to play the quest, so definitely something to think about. Again, I do have a detailed video about how you should be piloting this deck. It does go pretty strong, you can go wide pretty fast, but you can also actually take it slow, so you can save up a single big bomb turn and actually buff like crazy on that one. The deck has a lot of cheap 1-drops and a lot of cheap 1-attack minions, and this way the Busybot can buff a lot. We have things like Tordalon Storyteller because we have so many tribes in this one, and we have plenty of ways to go nice and wide with it, with things like Muster for Battle, the Mother Duck, all the cheap 1-drops we possess, the Maze Guide, that kind of stuff. And then you actually buff them with things like Flash Sale and Crusader Aura. The 0-mana Wisps are also coming in quite handy because you could be doing something like turn 3, coin, double Wisp into Flash Sale, and even with an empty board you still actually end up with a bunch of 2-3s. We also have Ursa Mullen here, so you can actually fish out your Ziliax, your Toy Captain, and the rest of your stuff from the bottom half. And the Toy Captain is also pretty strong in here because something like a turn 4 double 3/7 definitely ain't no joke with the help of a Wisp or just something on the board that's stuck. The Ziliax is the Pylon module plus the Ticking module because you do tend to go pretty wide. Going into the matchups, again reoccurring experience, Leech Death Knight is gonna be a bad matchup. Some of the Demon Hunters are definitely not great for you, but everything else is very polarized in your favor, so you got that going for you, which is nice. So if you're not seeing too many Leech Death Knights and Demon Hunters, you're definitely gonna be cruising. When going first, try to be curving off with the good 1-drops. If you already have a good 1-drop, Maze Guide can be amazing. If you have Wisp and 1-drop, Busybot can also be pretty sick. Muster for Battle is decent. The Tordalon also is nice if you also have a nice little early game, so definitely be smart about how you pull it off. The Trinket Artist also ain't bad if you're curving into it. On the coin, again, it's pretty similar, but here even things like Flash Sale could make some sense, even though it's a little bit on the greedy side. For other good Paladin decks, obviously we also need to talk about Quest Paladin here. I know people blow this deck out of proportion because it's so popular on the lower ranks because it's just so damn easy to play, but if you actually notice the stats, it's not as cracked as people make it out to be. Yes, it's annoying, yes, it's straightforward, but it's definitely far from actually broken, because decks with 56% win win rate? I don't know. I wouldn't be screaming nerf at the top of my lungs when aggro pally is actually having thousands a game more with a better win rate as well. The really popular quest paladins are actually borderline bottom tier 2 if you ask me. On the number 4 spot we have something of a new deck, which is Quest Warlock, and yes, people have been trying this deck quite a lot before, but right now it is actually cracked. In top legend this is hands down the best deck right now and everybody seems to be playing it, and for good reason. The deck has almost 60% win rate in top legend, which is actually kinda broken. The deck does seem pretty awkward to play at first, but once you get the hang of it, it's actually pretty easy. And the reason why this deck is so good right now is people finally figure out that the Death Knight cards are absolutely broken in this one. The reason why they're absolutely broken is you basically have that inevitable tons of damage in your hand with things like Corpuscles, with things like Horizon's Edge, and also with the Summoner Dark Marrow in the mix. This allows it to actually discover extra Frost Death Knight cards from the Snow Flurries, which is really strong. This way you could get yourself extra Corpuscles, or you can even get yourself 0 mana refresh 2 mana back, which could be absolutely broken. Not to mention this guy is going to be giving you temporary cards, so if you still haven't completed your quest, this guy is also going to help you big time like that. Normally you just play the free mana and not expect to be playing anything out of it, but if it gives you the 0 mana, that can be absolutely huge. The 1 mana idiot that comes out after is the one that really helps you with the temporary stuff, so don't be afraid to just tempo this guy off without expecting anything out of it. Again, I do have a detailed guide about this one from a few days ago, and I really did manage to win so much with this thing, literally slashed my rank in half, went all the way down to top 600 legend with it, so that was pretty nutty. And it's really easy to actually complete the quest nowadays. You have so many good temporary cards, like the Blood Petal biome gives you 1 cost temporary cards, the 0 mana Cursed Catacombs can give you very cheap temporary cards, the Solarium gives you free temporary cards as well, Spellunker helps you discount those cards, Sketch Artist fishes out your Solarium and gives you a temporary copy out of it too, and also Sweetened Snow Flurry is also pretty nice. All around, you're not very afraid to actually discard plenty of the cards in your deck, so it's all about just completing the quest and getting it down nice and quick. You could even get yourself a second quest portal on the board with the help of the Tidepool Pupil, because the quest reward is indeed a spell. Again, check out my detailed video about this one if you really want to see it in action. Here's what the matchups look like, and you are gonna be good against Leech Death Knight in this one, but things like Dummy Warrior are definitely not gonna be your friend. Mainly because you don't really have a great way to deal with the Tordla. When going first, obviously on turn 1 you drop the quest, you're also gonna be looking for a lot of good temporary cards you could be having. The Spellunker is amazing for turn 2. Sketch Artist, you have 2 of them and only a single shadow, so it's really important to get the Solarium nice and quick so you can actually finish off the quest faster. The Questing Assistant might also be something to think about, but honestly it feels like a not so important card if you ask me. On the coin, again, much of the same stuff, basically get the quest and a bunch of the temporary cards. There's literally no other Warlock deck to be talking about right now, so let's just move down to the 5th deck right now. And the last deck on the list is going to be indeed Firak Rogue, which has been actually kinda insane in top legend the first day after the patch, but on the second day, Quest Warlock definitely overtook it. From Diamond to Legend, I still believe this deck would bring you easy legend if you know how to play it, even though the sample size is a little bit on the smaller side, and also the skill cap for this one is plenty high too. But if you're up for the challenge and you want to learn something different and random, this deck might be the deck for you. Again, I do have a detailed video about this, so I guess you could be getting these top 5 meta decks even before my top 5 meta report if you actually pay attention to the channel. Firak Rogue is pretty cool because you could be doing all sorts of random nonsense, and you are even running the Narrowlex packaging here, so this way you could be getting yourself a lot of extra free mana, even as soon as turn 4 or 5, because if you tempo out Narrowlex as well as Acera, that also gives you free extra mana with which you could be tempoing out even further something like Observer of Mysteries, and that is just a little bit too much stat dump for most people to handle. We also have Ashamain in here, which can be absolutely busted. Firak is also in here, but he is a lot like Yogg, he can give, he can take. Ziliax is the twin module plus the perfect module. We also run things like Elise, and this is the reason why we also run things like Shaladrasil, like Opu, that kind of stuff, and you have plenty of ways to get extra coins with things like O-Manager, with the Metal Detector, and you also discount plenty with the Sandbox Scoundrels. The deck can be very quick, but it can also be very value heavy, so depending on the matchup you could be switching up gears. Not that much matchups for this one in particular, but as you see, you will be slightly in favor for everything except for random BS Mage. For the mulligan, always try to get yourself the Space Rock Collector. It's literally the only one drop you could be playing on turn 1. Creature of Madness is pretty sick, Cult Neophyte can also make sense, the Metal Detector is obviously great, Observer of Mysteries also ain't too bad if you're curving into it. And if you're also curving into things like Sandbox Scoundrel, or Elise, or Xavius, you can also hold on to those. On the coin, it's plenty of the same stuff, so mulligan accordingly. Here's the deck I'm showing you from Diamond to Legend, definitely very small sample size, but honestly the smaller the sample size the better for decks like this, because the more popular it gets, the more people actually botch it. We can see the bigger the sample size, the less the win rate, because people really tend to misplay a lot with this one, but we can also see a 56% win rate with 1000 games, which is definitely not bad, but the really big sample sizes with 4000 games and under 55% win rate, so here things really are going sideways. There's really not much else to be talking about except for Rogue from Diamond to Legend right now, and we gotta scroll quite a lot to see anything different, and we still won't. It's only Firak Rogues right now. So that's about it for the top 5 decks. Now let's check out the classes we haven't mentioned, starting off with Death Knight, and here we can see plenty of different variations of Leech Death Knight doing quite well. The Stegadon Death Knight is also starting to look somewhat okay, even though I've tried this deck and it definitely felt pretty weird and high rolly, but also pretty clunky. Handbuff Death Knight is also playable it seems, Space Death Knight is also playable, but nothing really stands out too much. With Druids, Dollhouse Druid is still its best bet, even though I did see some people do very well with Hydration Station Druid and Top Legend. I myself tried it and went 0-5 with it, so I really can't speak too much for it. With mages, Elemental Mage technically could have been included into this top 5, because this deck really does have better stats than the Firak Rogue I just showed you. Again, I do have a video about this deck from a few weeks ago, so you could check that one out. And also Big Spell Mage is doing pretty fine too. Protos Mage is also doing quite respectably well. Quest Mage is also playable, even though it's a little bit too random bullshitty to me. And that's about it for the Mage class. Protos Priest also could have been included into this top 5. Again, a little bit better stats than the Firak Rogue, but trust me on that one, Firak Rogue really can be very strong. Protos Priest is still very strong, however, because Resuscitate is just way too good. Bandage Priest is also out there if we scroll a little. There's also Fishing Priest in here. There's the Bandage Priest. I do believe there are a little bit better sample size win rates somewhere I think I saw, but right now I'm missing him. For Shaman, Nebula Shaman is actually doing pretty crazy good. And again, I do have a video about a similar variation. I did not use Farsight in that one, I'm pretty sure, but yeah, you can definitely check the Nebula Shaman video if you want to see what this deck is about. Quest Shaman, still absolute dog water. And last but not least, we have Warrior with Dummy Warrior with a very small sample size doing quite well. And here's the top tier 2 sample size Dummy Warrior, which also is not that bad at all. Quest Warriors are also doing quite well, especially in Top Legend, but that's about it for the Warrior class. And here's what the situation in Top Legend right now looks like in Top 1000 Legend. Everybody is playing Quest Warlock, which is actually beating the Firak Rogues right now. There's not enough stats to show about anything else. So that's about it for this top 5, guys. Hope this helps figure out what you want to be playing for Easy Legend this month. Don't forget to download Rage from my download link if you want to check out the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover and start Raid the right way. Thanks for watching. I'm Kris05 and I'll see you in my next video or stream.